Welcome to Dualshock'd, the Brotherhood of Geeks PlayStation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brett J. Rasmussen. Over here, got my other co-host,
Spectre.
Yeah, what's happening? Yeah.
What's happening? It's been some time.
It has been a bit.
Yeah.
It has been a while since you and I have talked, been here. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be, that is up, that will be up. Both of those things. But it's
I've already lost what the fuck did you just say? There's a lot of stuff that's been up, but it will be up.
It's only a little bit. It's
Yeah,
only one of those things. Who knows?
Yeah, no, it's been some time though. I mean, God, I can't remember last time we really did like a full-on episode together.
Yeah. I mean, like we talked about E3.
That was probably like the last time that we really focused on it. Now we're in December. So,
yeah.
I mean, we're halfway to another E3.
And really, like both of us had a lot of like things that we had to take care of, a lot of life stuff that kind of interfered.
Life-altering things like World of Warcraft Classic and
mind you, I shaved my beard.
That took 6 months. Yeah, so I mean, kept you busy there. But yeah, no, I mean, really, it's kind of surprising. I look back on my my profile, and like, I mean, I was just talking about this before. Mm-hmm. Last year for 2018, I had about 15 platinums I got from different games and everything last year. This year, I think I had like 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. So, like, I mean, it shows you kind of a contrast in just terms of how much I played and, what my focus was on. So really, I mean, World of Warcraft and life did kind of get in the way. So, I mean, yeah. But I still played some stuff. I'm still, going through some stuff from this year. But yeah, that's kind of what's been happening with me. I mean, really, honestly, I've been doing a lot of WoW and a lot of just stuff going on in my life. So, but what about yourself? I know you've kept up with things more.
Oh yeah, of course I've been. It's not like, again, a lot of life things have interfered. I know that we do have other jobs, other things that we do outside of doing this. But for me, I've been dealing with a lot of like work things, not only with the Brotherhood, but also outside of it. But also I've still been keeping up on different news topics, different things that are happening in the video game space. So right now I'm playing through Outer Worlds, Death Stranding, and Jedi Fallen Order kind of all at the same time. Because they all came out.
Unfortunately, not anything fun.
Shut up! Okay.
But at least you're keeping on top of things.
Yeah.
You make some sacrifices there for the sake of the show and playing
I mean,
less than desirable games.
Sacrifices. I mean, again, like again, this is fun. This is what we enjoy doing. So I mean, like, but I'm playing through these games and I'm going through them. And this, I don't know. I kind of want to just sit on it and really kind of mull it over all 3 of them, not just Death Stranding, because I know Death Stranding has been getting very polarizing reviews.
But so you don't sound excited about any of them, really. So I mean,
I haven't been able to really like sit down with them much. I've been, as I said, like there's been a lot of. I've also honestly, the last game that I finished finished is Medieval. That's the last game.
That's the next game on my list here. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that.
So, like, again, I'm playing these 3 all at the same time, so I'm kind of, like, juggling between them. So, I have to kind of, like, keep an eye on all 3 of them. If that, I don't know.
I got you. You're fine. You're good. So,
but yeah, I mean, we've been taking care of a lot of different things, but we're back. We're gonna be doing this more
hopefully
weekly.
Semi-consistent here.
Yes,
yeah.
We're gonna be doing this more weekly. That is the plan. That's what we want to do. That's what we're going to be trying to do. So, like, for instance, this coming, I think we should just go ahead and get into the news then, because we're kind of, like, leading into this, because it's going to lead into kind of the plans that we're going to be doing for probably the rest of December.
Sounds good to me. Yeah,
so let's go ahead and begin with our first segment, as always, News of the Nation. I know you love it.
Why don't you edit in some sound effects there? So
I don't know. I'm pretty entertaining. I'm pretty, like, I know you love it.
I know you try, but
oh,
doesn't always work out that way.
Okay, so first and foremost, so
holy shit, you actually have notes typed up this time.
Yeah,
this is a new feature. Okay,
What? Shut up! I've always had notes. Shut up. Like recently. Shut up. Anyway, so let's go ahead and begin with this.
you probably haven't typed this much in school. Like, holy
Shut
shit, you got
up.
War and Peace right there.
For the love of God, shut up, Spectre. All right, so first and foremost, this coming Tuesday on December 10th, because the day we're recording this is on December 7th. So only a few days from now as time of recording. But on Tuesday, on December 10th, PlayStation is going to be doing another State of Play. And this is from the PlayStation blog. This is what it says. Quote, the year is almost over, but we've got one more State of Play to share with you. It airs on Tuesday, December 10th at 6 a.m. Pacific Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can watch live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We've got around 20 minutes of new game reveals, release date announcements, new gameplay footage, PlayStation Worldwide Studio updates, and more. And it probably bears repeating, do not expect any updates related to our next-gen plans in this episode. And then it says where you can watch it.
So in other words, bring some coffee with you so you can actually stay awake. Are these ever like interesting or entertaining? How many of these have we had so far? Like 4 or 5?
I believe this is number 4 or 5.
Yeah,
this one coming up.
And none of them have been entertaining or interesting or good. I mean, really, it's just Nintendo that has this formula down. I mean, their directs are usually consistently at least interesting, or they have a couple of major announcements for them. These have just all been stinkers on PlayStation.
I disagree. I mean, me and Guru Blaze have watched them and we enjoyed them, but I know you're
well,
very
there's a reason why
games.
we cut him from the show. So
shut up, he's still here. He's just not here for this.
He's not here right now.
He's not here right now,
so he can't defend himself.
Shut up.
But yeah, no, I'm sorry. Every one of these I've seen, it's just nothing interesting or any like earth shattering. They already said they're not going to even give us any kind of a peek behind the curtain about the next gen system and all. So what are they really going to talk about? Just more Last of Us footage, or I mean, I don't care. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's going to be some new reveals. We may get more of Ghost of Tsushima. We may get a release date of that.
Okay, I guess that might be a little interesting, but I'm gonna be watching this, kind of skipping around for the video. That's kind of how I watch these things. I'm just like, okay, announcement, I don't care. Okay, announcement, I don't care. Next. That's how I watch these things.
I mean, again, I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy the state of plays, but I know you're very particular with the games that you enjoy or the games that you get excited for, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a sensitive taste, I guess. I don't know. I can be a little picky, I guess, but I mean, I'm just looking for something that's, I guess, entertaining or interesting. It's like, why even have these things if you're not gonna reveal something new or interesting? And we don't need to see more Last of Us footage or whatever the hell.
I will definitely say that, like, I'm already, like, I don't need to see more Last of Us. And it kind of, like, Naughty Dog kind of does this thing where, like, even with Uncharted, when Uncharted 4 was about to come out, like, we saw a lot of Uncharted 4, and I'm, like, at the point where I'm like, I'm already here for this. You don't need to keep showing me. Like,
I mean, what I'd recommend is Sony just copies off Nintendo's homework here. I mean, they really, I mean, if you watch the Nintendo streams, I mean, I'm not even really a Nintendo fan.
So, like, what? Would you...
I'm not a Nintendo fan, but I mean, even watching their directs, I mean, like, even for games that I'm not interested in, they at least make it in a nice, entertaining kind of format to it. So, I don't know. And they always have a smattering of different things. Even if it's like, okay, this is the Fire Emblem direct.
Did you watch the last State of Play, the most recent State of Play?
When was the last one?
It came out after, I believe it came out after E3. It came out, I believe.
Yes, I did watch that
September,
one. Yeah, I did watch the most recent one. Yes, and it's a struggle to stay awake.
Well, like, mind you, the way it's done is that it has the like, it looks like an XMB bar, and it kind of goes from game to game to game to game, just like it did.
I'm not complaining necessarily about the format so much as the content. It's just it's not anything really.
So then what do you just want more PlayStation remakes of like get a Twisted Metal remake?
Well, it might be nice.
Rock,
we do know that
Toomba, that kind of stuff. Is that what you're asking?
It's funny you say that because we know that what is it? Blue Point is still working on like a big.
Blue Point is being extremely tight.
Yeah, but maybe give us like maybe we need to get a peek at something new or different here. I mean, it's like I don't know. I don't. If I see Last of Us one more fucking time, it's just like. I don't know. I just give me something different, or a new announcement, something exciting. You know, I
Well, I mean,
I just
again,
don't
you
care.
very much are in a small boat. Again, Last of Us excites a lot of people, especially in the PlayStation Nation, in the PlayStation fan base. That's a game that a lot of people are excited for. I know you're not.
good for them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
I know I'm not the only one that thinks these things are just.
I'm not saying it's just all
I mean,
you all by yourself. Like, no, but like you're in a small boat. I would think it would be the minority, but I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong about that. But yeah,
you hate minorities.
Oh, shut up, Spectre. For the love of God, I should like get duct tape on you and just put it on you.
Okay, let's go for your list here. Let's see.
All right. So next topic. We're going to go ahead and move on to this. Next topic is the December's free games for PlayStation Plus. The games would be, this is also coming from the PlayStation blog. The two games that are going to be free for the month of December is Titanfall 2 and Monster Energy Supercross, the official game. So first with Titanfall 2.
I think we can both admit this is a pretty weak month. I mean, Titanfall 2 has been discounted. I mean, pretty much every major sale that that they've had for the last year and a half or so, you get the Titanfall 2 Ultimate Edition for like $5. So I mean, this is not like a big. I mean,
have you played Titanfall 2?
It doesn't matter. Titanfall 2 could be the game of the generation for all I care. The point is that you're not really getting much of a value out of this when you could buy the Ultimate Edition at any time between now and 2 years ago for about $6. And then the other game we have, of course, is glorified advertising.
Well, the whole motocross one, that one, I will be like, okay, fine, awesome.
Now, I like my Monster Energy. Don't get me wrong, and we're still holding out for that sponsorship.
It's the motocross game.
Yeah, it's a who cares. I mean, what was the Xbox offerings this month? It was actually like really good by comparison. Like, honestly, they're kind of getting blown the fuck out by Xbox lately with these.
Well, the thing is, do you miss the days when PlayStation would have PS4, PS3, and Vita? When they had the 6?
Well, yeah, I mean, because you had chances are, with 6 games, I mean, at least one of them's going to be good.
Well, but the thing is that you were also complaining about that too, because when they were doing the 6, the PS4 games that would be there. Oh yes, I see your finger wagging at me. The PS4 games that they would announce would not be. You would be like, oh, where's like the big AAA games? Where's the big games? Why are you giving me these indie games? You were complaining about that for a while.
Yeah, I was, and I'm glad that we have some AAA games in there now. I mean, of course, this is the twilight years of the PlayStation 4. I mean, we're on the verge of the next system already, so I'd hope they would have AAA games.
So what? You think that they should put Jedi Fallen Order on that? You know, that's not good.
No, I'm not saying that. Well, I'm saying put good games on there and maybe a higher quantity of them. I mean, like I said, pull up the Xbox offering.
Okay.
I could have sworn it was a much better list this month.
Well,
that's been a trend.
Well, first things for Titanfall 2, that campaign for that is fantastic. I absolutely love that campaign. I absolutely love it. It's so fun. And
I'm not questioning the quality of it. I'm just saying that, I mean, that's a game that's been heavily discounted
the way
for
that
a long time now.
Okay, and that's fine, whatever. But like, it's no matter what, it's a good game. I get that. You're looking at both of these games as pretty much what they monetarily mean, the money dollars. And mind you,
to a certain extent, yeah.
I'm getting there.
Quit stalling. What is it?
I'm not stalling. It's loading.
It's loading. Are you on dial-up here? What is it?
Shut up. All right, let's see. That's Game Pass. I want to know what games are going.
Stalling.
Oh, games are gold for December.
December, right there.
Toy Story 3.
See, look at that.
And Castlevania HD.
That's the Mirror of Fate one. That was the one that was on 3DS originally. But yeah, perfect example. There you go. Toy Story 3. I heard that was actually pretty decent.
Yes,
go back to months. The Castlevania one's kind of whatever, but I don't know what Insane Robots is, but that Jurassic World Evolution, that one's still like fairly like reasonably priced too. I think it's like at least a $20 game still it was going for.
I think it's like Ark, but with Jurassic Park.
But it's more of like a simulation kind of game. Like it's just a more interesting set of offerings here, and plus it's 4 games to R2. So,
but it's and I get that, and I think the thing is that they got. Will say I do miss the.
And more importantly, the other factor you have to consider here, before you make your point too, is even back when we had the PS3 and Vita games thrown in, you had to, of course, play those on PS3 or Vita. These are 4 games you can play on Xbox.
And mind you, the PS4, like Sony in the past generation, they screwed themselves by making the architecture of the PS3 so advanced and so different to everyone in the market at that time. Yeah. That's what ruined them when that system first came out, and that's what did not help them. It took them massive price cuts on the system itself, plus the remasteries, and they doubled down on the
long and short of it is, now we're in the situation where backwards compatibility is just like non-existent on PlayStation. Yeah,
that's why when the PS5 comes out, it's already, we've talked about this in a past Dualshock'd episode, but like they want it to be backwards compatible because they're seeing that people want that, people care about that. Like that's what people like.
My big question is going to be for the PS5 when we finally learn more about it is obviously it's going to be backwards compatible with PlayStation 4. What are you going to do for us about older games than that? I mean, people still care about that stuff.
I'm not saying that.
I mean, PS3 games. I mean, it's a great time to play them actually in a way because I mean you can get them like a dime a dozen. PlayStation 2 games are everywhere still. Even PS1 games are still really cheap. So I mean, it is a nice feature to have, and I mean, part of it. I mean, I wish it was as extensive of backwards compatibility as we would see like on an Xbox.
Well, I could see PS1 because like the thing is that in Medieval, if you find all the lost souls and put them to their resting place, which is a new feature in the game, once you do that, and you have to do that. But that also counts to your 100%. But pretty much when you do that, you get to actually play the original PS1 version of Medieval on that disc. On the Medieval disc.
And that's
so I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility that would happen. But I could see it doing PS1 because that's going to be easy to emulate. PS2 I could also probably see just go ahead and download a specific patch. It's the PS3 that I don't know if that's going to happen.
It's kind of the ironic undercurrent of this episode is that, we have there's all these great games, this great history of PlayStation. We're talking about that in this episode.
Yeah.
But it's challenging for us to even play half these games because you need to have the original systems hooked up to still play them. Unless you're emulating or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's like, I mean, if you want to play a PS3 game, you kind of still need to have your PS3 hooked up. You want to play a PS2 game, you sort of need your PS2 hooked up.
Mm-hmm.
It's inconvenient, and I mean, I don't know. For me, like, I just rearranged my entertainment stand.
Yeah.
I have 3 systems hooked up, and that's pretty much the upper limit of what I want to have, dangling below my television set. I don't want to have like 400 systems, hooked up to my TV. So I mean, it'd be nice if everything was just playable on one thing. So
and we're at a time now like where convenience is master. Convenience is key. That's the most important to us when we look at products, when we look at specific things when it comes to our video game systems.
And that's why next gen we're switching over. You and I, we already agreed to this to the Stadia.
You can go ahead and just shut up. You can go ahead and kiss my butt for that. No.
Our newest sponsor, nothing to do with that.
Oh, please. I will. The Stadia is a whole different thing. Like, look, I'm trying not to go down a tangent, but like, I'm very much more about physical games than digital. I like owning our games, having all of this right here.
Wouldn't it be great if you could play these all on one system?
Yeah, and then you can go ahead and have them rip it away because of DRM policies or because whatever.
No, I mean a theoretical PlayStation 5. Not a Stadia. Yeah.
That would be rad. So,
but yeah, I like to see we're off on a tangent here.
No, I get you. But like, these are, again, as always, as we say, just go ahead and add them to the library. It's completely free. You get them for the month, and if you ever want to try them, they're pretty much full games that you get for having Plus. You need it to go ahead and play online anyway.
And if you miss Titanfall 2, you'll be able to get it for $5 in the next sale.
Whatever, dude. Whatever. Okay.
Plus, it's an EA game, so, that's the leper's bell. Stay away.
That game's still good, and Oh, anyway. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. So we're going to go into more news that's kind of been happening recently. So first, next is that Metacritic has removed, quote, suspicious Death Stranding user ratings. This is coming from IGN. Metacritic has confirmed that it has removed several user reviews from Death Stranding after they were flagged for, quote, suspicious activity. While removing those ratings seemingly raised the overall user score for Death Stranding. Metacritic, and this is for the user rating, so not the critics rating, but the user rating. Metacritic says the scores were removed over, quote, potential score manipulation, so review bombing, really. It was reported overnight on Reddit that Metacritic seemingly removed thousands of negative user ratings for Death Stranding. While this caused the user rating for Death Stranding to jump, a Metacritic spokesperson explained that this was done to combat rating tampering. Quote from the spokesperson: a number of user-generated reviews for Death Stranding were flagged for suspicious activity and have since been removed. Metacritic takes issues of potential score manipulation seriously and has a number of policies in place to maintain score integrity. Moderators regularly review the site and remove any entities that do not fall within our guidelines, in addition to a moderation queue where Metacritic users can flag unusual behavior. Moderators then review and remove any entries that violate our terms of service. So that's pretty much what it's talking about. Now, we've seen that in the reviews for Death Stranding happening kind of all over the place. There are places that have given it 8s and 9s out of 10s. There are other places, like even on IGN, they gave it a 6. They gave it like a 6 point, I think it was like a 6 or 7, which is very low.
Yeah, my opinion on Kojima and the games he makes is, it's pretty out there. He's kind of an auteur, and either you like his stuff or you don't. I personally don't. I can't point to a game of his that I really enjoyed. It's so I don't know. I guess I'm suspicious of their suspicion to some degree. I get where they're coming from in that they don't want to have just spam bots on there that are artificially lowering a score. But at the same time, I guess I'm very hesitant to. They can run their site obviously however they want, but I'm hesitant to remove anything like that. Unless it is just a blatant spamming of like a bot thing spamming.
Well, also I do think of like review bombing. I do think that you don't like Kojima, and I don't see you doing it, but I do think there are people who just want no, this game sucks because blah blah blah.
Yeah,
because they don't want this game to do well. But there is such a thing as review bombing.
Yeah, you can do that with any game, though.
I understand. I get that. You can do that with any game, but I'm just saying, regardless. For instance, I don't review a game unless I played it, beaten it, did everything for that to the best of my ability. And with this, if I haven't played, right now I'm playing through Death Stranding. I haven't finished it. I haven't said my piece about what my opinion of Death Stranding is. I've seen the numbers of people like it, people don't like it, but I'm not going to go ahead and be well, of what I've played.
I just don't see this big vocal crowd of people that are this big anti-Kojima group or cabal or anything like that. I just don't really see that. If anything, I admit I'm in the minority opinion on Kojima. Everybody loves him. Most people love his games. He's sort of like the Quentin Tarantino of video games. Everybody loves him, and I don't like Quentin Tarantino either. But he's seen as this guy that does this unique thing, and everybody loves his stuff. And a couple of people like myself don't care for him. But I just don't see this big vocal hate group that's against him. Even people like me that don't like his stuff. I don't hate Kojima. I just don't enjoy his games.
Yeah.
I don't hate what he does. It's just I just don't enjoy playing his games.
Yeah. No,
I just don't. I wouldn't see myself or anyone I know exacting the labor to go on to Metacritic and spam negative reviews of a game. It's who cares?
All I'm saying is if you're just saying, oh, screw this game because, I don't like Kojima, or I don't like this game because no matter what the reason, I don't think you should do that. But if you seriously don't like the game, then go ahead and say that. Like, and there's a bunch of games that I don't like, you don't like, so on and so forth. But we have played through them.
And that's why I wish they gave us a little bit more information on these suspicious reviews.
Well, the thing is that what has happened is that there are the bots and there are also the review bombings on that. The article does go on from there. It says, according to popular review aggregating site, it seems that Stranding user ratings were deemed suspicious. It should also be noted that only the number ratings were removed. So not the whole review. So only the number connected to the rating was removed. So if someone went ahead and said, like, I don't like this game, I don't like Kojima, and that's it, and they put a 1 or a 0, just that rating is gone.
Gotcha, okay.
That's it. Furthermore, Metacritic's terms of service do not mention you can remove user submissions without notice. We don't know specifically what it was about that remove the reviews caused Metacritic to remove them, but given the practice of review bombing, which we have seen that in multiple games, not just this. There has been multiple games on Metacritic that just get review bombed. Where users can target a specific game to bad rating for a specific purpose. Some organized effort can target a game like Death Stranding.
I keep going back to, like, you know, who are these people? You know, it's like who's doing this? You know, it's like. I mean, everybody just loves Kojima for overall. I mean, even people like me that don't like him, we're not going to sit up all night, you know, spam review bombing them. You know, I just don't care.
Well, some people do.
I guess so.
Let's move on. Next topic. Cyberpunk 2077's multiplayer will come with wise monetization that offers players value for money. So what has come to be found is that there was in a recent earnings call explained in its Q3 2019 financial performance, and this is coming from PlayStationLifestyle.net. CD Projekt Red told investors that Cyberpunk 2077's multiplayer component is a smaller project than a single-player campaign that the studio is only starting to work on, which is the multiplayer, not the campaign. The campaign is pretty much finished. While it's too early to share details, monetization will offer players value for money. Now, what happened is that they started talking about monetization, and everyone started freaking out. This is from the earnings call. Quote, as far as the monetization of multiplayer for Cyberpunk is concerned, we believe now it's definitely too early to share any details on that or give guidance. The project is in a relatively early stage. We keep experimenting. That's our first multiplayer game. We check various options and possibilities, and it's definitely not the time to point you to a specific direction on that. Of course, you can expect that we won't change our general policy towards deals with gamers, so I expect wise monetization and always value for money.
I tell you, it's one thing after another. This game, eventually it's gonna just be the straw that broke the camel's back. I might just cancel my pre-order because I keep trying to defend this game because I was so hyped for it when it first was announced and when we first got details on it. But just it's one thing after another. You know, it was the the gameplay and the RPG element, it's not going to be as deep as we thought. It's like, okay, whatever. Okay, here's the gameplay trailer. The combat doesn't look so good. Okay. The dialogue is kind of wonky. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll give it some time to polish. It'll be okay. And then you add on, well, the map is going to be pretty small. And, you know, some of the wokeness aspects of it. It's like, okay, fine. Well, maybe it'll still be good. Now we got monetization thrown on top of it. And it's just like, oh my god.
Now, when you hear monetization, what comes to mind? When you hear monetization,
it depends on the company, of course, too. So, I mean, for CD Projekt Red, I mean, I'm trying to reference back to things like Witcher and stuff like that, which I wasn't really too active in. But I mean, as far as I can recall, the DLC aspect of that wasn't like too egregious, you know. So
because there were massive expansions.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. We need more. I guess not enough information to make a conclusion here. But my point being is like it's just with this game, it's always like negative. It's like there's never any good news coming out of this. It's always like one thing after another. So it's like it's hard for me to even give a shit about this.
So this was in their earnings call. This was in the Q3 2019 earnings call when that got said, and we all found out about that. The whole internet freaked out. And again, there has been some changes to it. So. With that, when we heard monetization, the first thing comes to mind is microtransactions and loot boxes,
Yeah.
Fortnite, the Fortnite style, the Call of Duty, all of that kind of thing. That's what comes to mind because that's the part of the gaming of the game industry, or when it comes to multiplayer games, that we don't like. But they have CD Projekt Red has already come out to explain what they meant by monetization. They are not going for they don't want to go down that route, as they've stated before, and we have talked about in past Dualshock'd episodes about how they do not want to go do micro loot boxes. They don't like loot boxes. They don't like that kind of stuff. There is a difference between like microtransactions. They have stated that microtransactions may be, and this is only in the multiplayer. And the reason why everyone's excited for this game is the single player big campaign. That's what I'm excited for. That's what you're excited for.
What's left of it, yeah.
Whatever. The multiplayer is something very different that CD Projekt Red has never done before, and they're doing it with Cyberpunk. They have explained that they're looking at what would be the best ways to do that. CD Projekt Red truly does care about its fan base
and
the
multiplayer part of it too is something else. I don't think it should be. I don't think this. When I think of Cyberpunk 2077, I shouldn't be thinking Grand Theft Auto. And I don't want this game to just be Grand Theft Auto with a cyberpunk skin on it, which I feel like that's what it's going to be. Which is if that's what it's going to be, then I'm going to cancel my pre-order. If I wanted to play Grand Theft Auto, I just play Grand Theft Auto. I don't want to play a bastardized clone of it. So I mean, like I don't know. The more I hear about this, I'm this close to just canceling. I really am at this point. My enthusiasm for this game was, at an all-time high, and it's just going down and down and down and down and down. I mean, it's going to be released soon enough. We're not too far away from it at this point. But at this, I mean, it's just like it's negative after negative after negative with this game. It's just like, for once, I'd like to see like a positive story about something that's being added to it or some kind of cool new feature to it. But it's just like, it looks like Grand Theft Auto. I mean, with Cyberpunk, that's what it is, and that's not a fun game.
I don't think it's going to be just GTA with the Cyberpunk skin on it, because GTA, I played GTA 5. It's good. I respect it for what it is. When it comes to single player, the multiplayer is a different story, but I respect it for what it is. It's not my cup of tea, that kind of thing. So I don't think that's going to be the case. But they have said that they're figuring out how the monetization for the multiplayer will turn out and what they want to do. They don't want to turn fans off because they don't like that either. They've said so themselves. They don't want to go down, do loot boxes and that kind of thing. So they're going to figure out what it is, and I guess we'll see as time goes along. So let's go ahead and move on. Last but not least, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Game Awards. You're like, oh my god. So let's talk about the Game Awards for a little bit. Again, the Game Awards are going to be happening on December 12th, which we will be watching and pretty much doing a watch along on. We'll also be doing that with the State of Play on Tuesday. Or I don't know. Are you going to be? I don't know.
I don't know if I'm going to be awake for that.
Okay. I know it's early. Even now I'm like, 8? Ooh. Because we're in Central Time where we're at. So.
No, I'm saying the presentation itself will put me to sleep. But
okay.
I don't know if I'm going to be awake for that. But I'll let you probably handle that one because I'm probably not going to have anything positive to say about it. So I'm not expecting much out of that one.
I only want to go ahead, I don't want to dive too deep into it because we'll be talking about it and discussing it when the Game Awards actually happen. But the game of the year from the Game Awards for 2019 are as follows. So Game of the Year is Control by Remedy, Death Stranding from Kojima Productions, Resident Evil 2 from Capcom, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice from Software, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate from Nintendo, and Bandai Namco, and The Outer Worlds from Obsidian.
So those are the nominees.
These are the nominees.
Yes.
This is for Game of the Year from the Game Awards.
I think we're missing something, from
like
that
what?
list.
Like what?
A certain game that was, pretty well received overall.
What? Medieval?
Well, that's missing too, but
Are you talking about Devil May Cry?
I'm talking about Devil May Cry. Yeah, it's suspiciously absent from that list.
Also, Borderlands 3 is not.
If only
there,
Kojima
too.
had produced that too, then it would have been on the list too.
Shut up.
But it's kind of a weird list. I mean,
yeah.
Being real about it. Like, okay, we're kind of going for it here. Smash Brothers, I mean, they're putting that on there because technically that was a really late release from last year.
But also it came out it came out pretty much the cutoff date of the Game Awards last year.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Technically, it was like a 2018 game, but it just barely. So that makes sense.
And and it goes with, just to finish it off, is that Jedi Fallen Order has been getting high reviews. It's not part of this list either. It's not on any list because of the same reason. It came out after this.
So it could be in the running next year. If that probably won't be. It doesn't deserve to be. And then Sekiro, yeah, makes sense. Okay, I get it. Resident Evil 2 Remake, of course, deserves a spot on the nominees.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was very well received.
But it's a remake. It's not a new game.
Well, semantics. It kind of is a new game in a way.
Well, there's changes to it graphically and gameplay.
It's a very different game in a lot of ways from the original. So I think it's different enough to be considered new. Death Stranding. We know why that's there. That's there because Jeff Keighley's buddy with Kojima.
Mind you,
that's the only reason it's on this list.
I completely disagree with you because there are a lot of precautions to. How the nominees are made is that there's a voting jury, which is of all of the big name video game media outlets throughout the world. It's not just the U.S., it's throughout the whole world. They have a voting jury, and then they have a third party that's not part of the Game Awards that also kind of goes through them. They're part of the video games industry, but they kind of go moderate and kind of figure out, okay, what do we like? They also it's
and with all those checks and balances, we still missed Devil May Cry somehow. Interesting. Outer Worlds gets on there though. Like what? Really?
It's good.
And then of course Control, which maybe 10 or 15 people played. It sold like what? Like
doesn't matter how much
it sold. Like what? 10, 15 copies.
Doesn't matter how much it sold. Control is awesome. Have you played Control?
I have not played Control. I'm not interested in a bargain bin SCP game.
SCP?
I'm not going to get off on a tangent on SCP.
Right.
But basically the story is a ripoff of SCP, that community, where there's supernatural entities and stuff like that. So it's an SCP game with a little. It's SCP with feminism injected into it, basically.
I can't take you anywhere, Spectre.
But yeah, so I mean, about half this list makes sense to me. The other half is kind of baffling, or like, really. So it's half and half for this list.
Who do you think?
I would take off Outer Worlds. I would take off Control. I would take off Death Stranding. And then after that, you have the makings of a list. And then you
Sekiro, Resident Evil 2, and Smash Brothers.
Yep, and then of course you had Devil May Cry on, and then maybe I'm sure we could probably think of other games that came out this year that would be worthy of attention. So, if you had to round this out to a certain number. So,
mind you, what was very for me, this is actually
even if you love Control, I mean, 10 people played that game. I mean, shouldn't there be some kind of criteria of success on here? I mean, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I mean, are we
because you're qualifying successes and sale rates.
Are we literally turning this into the Academy Awards where the best picture is the movie that 4 people saw and nobody cares about? It used to be I mean, if you go in the past, it used to be the big game or the big movie was one that was actually critically acclaimed and also was very successful. It was both. It was a total package. But now it's you have these these games that are on here that don't really deserve to be on here, but for one reason or another, whether it's because the guy hosting this is friends with one of the producers, or you have 2 woke games on here with Control and Outer Worlds. So it's I mean, do they really deserve a spot on this list, or is it just because we're playing politics here? So I don't know. I don't believe all your checks and balances mumbo jumbo.
It's on the site.
Sure, fine, yeah. Same with the Academy Awards. They have all these checks and balances, blah, blah, blah.
I didn't know that your Fallout hat was a tin hat. Is it made out of tin? Is it made out of metal? Oh my god!
Hey, I'm not against. Obviously, I'm not against having controversial opinions, but it's just really. I mean, just go on the street and ask go into a game store or something like that and ask people like, oh, hey, what did you think of Control? Or show them this list. And they're going to be like, oh, my friends like Smash. Oh, that Resident Evil game, I heard that was good. Sekiro, that was good. And they're going to be like, Control, what is that? Is that a game? What?
So what? You would rather see like?
And they're gonna be like, Outer Worlds. Oh yeah, I heard like one of my weird friends was playing that. I didn't really. I don't plan to get it. And Death Stranding, they're just gonna be like, either they're gonna love it and be like, oh yeah, it's Kojima-san, I'm gonna get it, or it's like, it looks like fucking weird, I'm not gonna get it.
I can't take you anywhere out in public. I should just you should just go ahead and like live in your hole and play Warcraft.
At least, yeah. Or at least 3 games on there deserve to be there. So half the list.
Look, I will definitely say that this year, kind of like beginning, or like kind of even halfway when we were at E3, I was like, man, when it comes to Game of the Year time, like it's going to be hard, not because of the number of like choices. Because last year it was like Marvel Spider-Man, God of War, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There were really good games on the last year's Game of the Year awards. It was like that was actually really tough last year. This year, like it feels like they're kind of holding off for all the big ones for next year. Like next year's going to be nuts. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Last of Us Part 2. I know you don't like it, but you know it's going to be there. And Cyberpunk 2077. At least those 3. I would predict that they're going to be on 2020 Game of the Year. I would predict. And that's just starting off within like what? February, March, April? Something like that. March, April, like around there, within the March, April time, around that springtime. That's what I would think. This time around, it kind of feels more like the artsy games. You are right. Like, again, these are games that have not sold big numbers.
I mean, only one Nintendo game on this list.
To me, this is kind of like a hard choice.
And I'm not a Nintendo fan, really. I'm just, it's just like, this list is not. I mean, this is not a list. I mean, like, did Devil May Cry show up on any of these lists?
Yeah, for best sound, for I believe it's best score, best score in music, Cadence of Hyrule, Death Stranding, Devil May Cry 5.
Link's Awakening. I forgot about that. Yeah, another game that probably deserves to be on that list more than. Let's see.
And like Borderlands 3 was really good, and it's not on there too.
I'd say that probably deserves a spot more so than Control. Devil May Cry shows up or best action game. Like I guess it's not worthy of Game of the Year though. Let's see.
Again, I don't want to go ahead and dive too deep because we're going to be talking about this during the Game Awards, and we're going to kind of be discussing this as it goes on. But yeah, so now you're seeing kind of the full list. But like, it's this year is a bit different than.
They got all their best esports stuff. So that'll be their commercial break ones here. So.
Look, esports, not my cup of tea, but I do think it deserves to be there. Because esports is important to the game industry. So, but for Game of the Year...
Are we going to get another, like, really cringy, over-the-top, like, acceptance speech?
I don't know. But...
That was the only part I remember that's all I remember from last year's show was that furry guy got up there and was like going on and on.
Dude, Sonic Fox is rad. I've seen him in fighting games, in Evo. He's awesome.
That was the only part I remember from that thing last year. That was pretty hilarious.
Well, but anyway, all I'm saying is like these are very different games, very different choices. I could, for me, Control, Sekiro, Smash Brothers, and out like it's for that. It's like, and again, I haven't played through enough of Death Stranding for me to have a say on it, and Resident Evil 2, I haven't played enough of that to have a say on it either. So like, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens on the game when we get to.
I'm calling it now. I'm calling it now. You can quote me on this.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding will win because Jeff Keighley's going to come out there. His life has been building towards this moment. You have to realize that he wants to go out there and give his friend Kojima an award for being his friend.
I can't.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. You can quote me on this.
I can't argue with that because I can see that.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's either going to be that or maybe they go with a safer choice. Like I predict it's either going to be. That's the most likely option. It's going to be that, or maybe Resident Evil 2 or Smash. One of those 3. I'm pretty confident it's one of those 3. The other ones are obvious kind of filler. But I think it's gonna be one of those three.
Okay.
Death Stranding has no place near being a game of the year, but it does have the Jeff Keighley friend.
I get you.
When you're friends with the Pope, you're gonna get some.
Okay. Okay.
You're gonna get some.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Spectre. I should have just left you in your hole.
I mean, let's if Doritos and Mountain Dew were on this list, we know that they would get the award too. Okay. I said you got to be on the Pope's good side. If I was.
So great, awesome. Are you done? Are you done with?
I'm done. Okay. I mean, it works. I mean, if I was ever making a game, I mean, I would just tweet Jeff Keighley, like, hey man, you're all right. Okay. I like that Game Awards show, and then he'd come out and he'd give me an award because we'd be friends then.
Thank you, Spectre. So. Thank you, Spectre. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our main topic, the PlayStation conversation. PlayStation. Now, this past week, it has now been 25 years that the PlayStation, the PS1, the original PlayStation, came out in Japan and the US. And actually, the PS1 is the only system to come out after Black Friday in the US.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Every other system after PS2, PS3, PS4 before, but the PS1 came out after Black Friday. And pretty much PlayStation on the PlayStation blog and a bunch of other places have been celebrating the 25 years of play, and that's what we wanted to talk about today. We're gonna kind of go into the Wayback Machine and kind of talk about why we became PlayStation fans and kind of why we're here in the first place, what brought us to the dance. But to start off,
the dance,
yes. So it was on December 3rd, 1994, 25 years ago.
Day that will live in infamy.
So on December 3rd of 94, the first PlayStation made its global debut in Japan. And then it came out after that. The original PlayStation sold 100,000 units in Japan on its first day and went on to become the first ever home console to surpass 100 million units sold globally. We struck a chord with the gaming community because PlayStation offered experiences beyond what anyone could ever imagine possible with a home console. From the very start, we opened our arms to developers, providing them with the tools and technology to create beautiful, expansive worlds and the experiment with new ideas. That approach led to the diversity of games PlayStation is known for, a true hallmark for our brand across multiple generations of hardware platforms. And this is coming from the PlayStation blog. Over the past 25 years, PlayStation has stood at the forefront of gaming, and I'm honored. This is from the CEO of PlayStation. I'm honored to have been a part of the team since its early days. As I was helping set up the business in Europe, I remember having to start from scratch with many things, from hiring employees to ordering furniture. Back then, we focused on catering to local markets to ensure that a gamer in Poland would feel a part of the broader PlayStation community just as much as someone in the UK, Japan, or the US. Supported by passionate fans all around the world, our business has grown significantly, and our focus on community is more important now than ever. It is truly humbling to see fans who grew up on PlayStation passing down their level of gaming to their children who are now playing the PS4. On behalf of all of us at PlayStation, thank you for taking this journey with us. We can't wait to celebrate what comes next with you. And this all comes from Jim Ryan, the president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, SIE. So
nice speech. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I guess to kind of launch into kind of a very brief history with mm-hmm. PlayStation. Really, I mean, originally I started off as like most kids, I was either in the I grew up in in that early '90s. I was either in the the Nintendo or the Sega camp. One or the other. Mm-hmm. I was firmly in the Nintendo camp. I had a Super Nintendo. I was grandfathered into an NES from my parents in there and them as well. But Super Nintendo was kind of my first system. So I was a Nintendo kid. I was someone that was I got the Nintendo 64 right when it launched, and PlayStation. I mean, keep in mind this was all before the internet, really, and I mean, you didn't really you weren't as aware and as well informed as you are nowadays about where the day and date when everything's coming out.
The 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah, we know years in advance when the next system's going to be out. It wasn't like that, So especially as a kid, you didn't have access to all that.
No.
So I got a Nintendo 64. I loved my Nintendo 64. And really, my first exposure to PlayStation was through just my family members. They had gotten PlayStation, and there was sort of like an interfamilial kind of rivalry in a way, where I was like a very opinionated kid, and I
you over-opinionated?
Yeah.
What?
Very much so.
I didn't know that, Spectre.
But back then, I think it was more just opinionated for the sake of being opinionated. There wasn't a lot of because of just being a stubborn kid. There wasn't a lot of.
I get you.
There wasn't a lot of reason to back it up.
Nintendo is better because it's Nintendo. I don't care what you say, it's better.
And that's kind of how it was. And we were sort of trained on that because of the rivalry between Nintendo and Sega. You were kind of trained to be defensive about your brand. You felt like you were a part of. If you're attacking Nintendo, you're sort of attacking me in a way. That's how you felt as a kid. But what really sold me on PlayStation was actually playing the system and seeing just what really blew me away about it. I mean, especially compared to my frame of reference was Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Just being able to see things like full motion video on it, which really was a rarity on Nintendo 64. The storage capacity of the system really couldn't handle it. The soundtracks, the variety of games to it. I mean, that's really what sold me on it. And that's ultimately what led me to actually buying a PlayStation 1. Probably about midway through the life cycle of the system. Yeah. And it was fantastic. I played both systems in tandem with each other. And really, as the years progressed, I found most of my time I spent on my PlayStation. I still have the Nintendo 64, and I played all the major titles. I love that system to death. But really, in terms of where my gaming habits were going, I was maturing and kind of moving towards the PlayStation, which had a lot more mature options on it as contrasted to the Nintendo system, which was kind of still a kid's system in its image. And then by the time the 2000s rolled around, I knew I had to get a PlayStation 2 at launch. I was a big Tekken fan, especially. I still am.
Okay.
And one of the launch titles was going to be Tekken Tag. So I had to do it. I remember I got the PlayStation 2 basically at launch. I didn't camp out for it myself because I was only like 10 years old at the time.
Yeah.
But my parents got me the PlayStation 2 right away.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by that system. Just absolutely blown away. It's still basically my favorite system to date. A lot of my favorite games, the favorite series came from that system. Yeah. Just a fantastic device. And really that's ultimately what led me into being like, okay, well, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to get a PlayStation 3, when that comes out ultimately. I was still a Nintendo fan. Don't get me wrong. I had a GameCube. I didn't really have an Xbox at all. I got an Xbox way late in life. I know you when you talk about games. But you were more of an Xbox guy. But I had an Xbox basically for like 2 games, for Fable and Halo. And that was about it. I barely touched it. Yep. But yeah, PlayStation 2 was 99% of my time. I would play some of the Nintendo exclusives when those came out, but really 99% of my time, PlayStation 2. Love that console to death. Probably still my favorite system. Yeah. Home console system. Yeah. When PlayStation 3 rolled around, that's when everything changed. So we all remember the infamous PlayStation 3 launch, the $599 and all the problems that came with it. But despite all that, I was such a big fan. I got a PlayStation 3 at launch. And I also got the Wii at launch too, because I jumped on that hype train as well.
Of course.
But yeah, I got the PlayStation 3 at launch, and it was bad. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It was a really botched launch. Yeah. There really wasn't anything to play on it. I played Resistance and maybe one or two of the other games that came out at the time, but that was about it. You didn't have much, and there was really not much to look forward to. You didn't have any big games coming out for years, literally. Yeah. I mean, it was a very dark time for PlayStation. It was kind of out of nowhere too. You're used to PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation 2 it's still the top dog of all the systems. So
now, I believe PlayStation, all the PlayStations are in the top 10, including PS3. But I believe the PS1, 2, and 4 are in the top 5.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, PS2 being obviously the first. But yeah, it was a dark time, and I remember this. I made the decision ultimately. I'm like, I can't. I don't. I looked across the aisle. I saw the competition on 360, and 360 had been out for a longer period of time.
Yeah, they had a year old.
And they had games I was actually interested in, like Dead Rising. I wanted to try Gears of War. I wanted to try the new Halo. It's like, okay, well, I just had that epiphany. It's like, why am I? My brand loyalty is making me suffer here. Like, why am I holding a candle for this system that doesn't offer me anything? So I scooped up my PlayStation 3 and the games that I had for it. I went in and traded that in, and I picked up an Xbox. And that was that was my primary gaming system. The 360 was for that generation. So that was my period, like, away from PlayStation, and I think it was a lot of people did that. A lot of people kind of turned their backs on PlayStation because the company kind of in a way turned their backs on us, the consumer. I mean,
they got full of themselves.
They got full of themselves, and they suffered for it. But in the end, I mean, kind of a happy ending for PlayStation because as the generation came to a close and the next set of systems came along with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It was the other way around. The Xbox One had probably one of the most botched launches in the history of video games. I mean, it's talk about how it's like a textbook example of how to completely alienate your audience and brand. I mean, it should be taught in schools, and it's how terrible it was. It made the PlayStation 3 launch look like immaculate by comparison.
Oh, I know.
But I mean, it was such a no-brainer at the beginning of that generation. You had one system that was basically becoming this kind of weird amalgam of like a television set, cable box with some gaming kind of thrown in on the side, forced you to have a camera on at all times. All this crazy stuff. They wanted to get rid of physical games completely at a time where that was just beyond the pale. Terrible. And then PlayStation kind of did everything right. They had a system that was cheaper, which I always emphasize is extremely important.
When the money dollars is very important to use factor.
Yes, very much so. So it was cheaper. It was better graphically. It had.
I think you and I have discussed this before. I don't know if we have done it on here on Dualshock'd, but I know that you and I, like, you were very much, I got PS4 because the resolution is so much better. And I'm like, dude, it's barely even noticeable.
It's barely noticeable, but it's like, it was just...
To you, it was important.
To me, it was important. As more of a third-party guy, it was more important. But yeah, it just was kind of a no-brainer. And then so I kind of came back home to PlayStation after being in exile for a generation. And PlayStation 4, like most people, that was my system this generation. That's where I played most of my games on it that weren't on PC.
Yeah.
So, that's where we are today. I mean, in terms of where we're going from here, I mean, unless there's some kind of crazy botched launch on PlayStation's part again, I imagine I'm going to be getting a PlayStation 5.
I believe that when it comes to the announcement of the PS5, and I think it's going to be that it's not official, but it's rumored that in February of 2020 they're going to do the event again, just like they did back in 2013 when this is going to be a reveal.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I imagine that'll be my next gen system then. And of course, we're mentioning very briefly. I did very much enjoy the PSP, and I think the Vita was very underrated. I think we've talked about the Vita before, but I think it was the price that killed the Vita.
Oh, I agree.
But still, both of them fantastic systems. I enjoyed their handheld offerings, and really they kind of set the standard in terms of kind of the graphical capabilities of a handheld. Because before we were used to the standard was Nintendo with their solid handhelds, but they never really known for their graphical capability, which is what Sony kind of spoiled us with.
Yeah.
So that's the long and short of kind of my history of PlayStation.
Yeah, I get you.
But yeah, so I mean, for the most part, I've kind of always, I've always stood by the brand more or less, aside from, my brief exile with an Xbox 360, and I think that was a justified thing.
Yeah. Before I go ahead and move into how PlayStation has affected me, I just wanted to bring up that on the PlayStation blog also, there's this fantastic article about 10 worldwide studio creators named their favorite PlayStation game of all time. Cory Barlog, who's the creative director from Sony, from Santa Monica, who did God of War, is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Very good choice.
Jason Connell, who is the creative director at Sucker Punch, is Shadow Colossus. Nicholas Doucette, who is the creative director and producer from Japan Studio, and specifically Team Asobi, Metal Gear Solid, the original, like Metal Gear 1. Herman Hulst, the head of worldwide studios of Sony Interactive Entertainment, is God of War from 2018, so last year. Brian Intihar, I'm sorry if I said it wrong, but he's the creative director at Insomniac, and his is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Siobhan Reddy, who's the studio director at Media Molecule, is the Resident Evil series. Dominic Robillard, who's the creative director at Pixel Plus, is Ico. Jeff Ross is...
Ico.
Ico? It's Ico? I've been saying it wrong this whole time? God dang.
I'm pretty sure it's Ico.
Okay. Jeff Ross, who's the game director at Sony Bend, was The Last of Us.
We don't care about him.
Oh, shut up. Angie Smets, who's the studio director and executive producer at Guerrilla Games, Journey. Stuart White, director of VR product development at SIE London studio, Demon Souls.
I really hope that's not the game that Blue Points. It probably is.
What, Demon Souls?
It probably is.
I don't think so.
I hope it's not though.
I don't know. It's going to be made in-house PlayStation game. That's still owned by From Software. That is not in-house PlayStation.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it's this fantastic article. Each person that I mentioned goes in depth about why it is, and they have honorable
mentions. Can you imagine if it was Eco? That'd be amazing. But...
Ooh, oh my god. But I just want
that would be one of those moments where I would, if that was revealed.
Oh, I know.
I would be just as excited as you are for like
when they announced it, dude. Like you should. I wish you were there when in 2016. I will never forget that E3 in 2016 when they announced God of War. Oh my god. That famous reveal where you had Atreus playing with like the toys and you're like just from the back of your boy, and it's Kratos, but you don't know who that is at the time. And he comes out and he's like we hunt and just hit Kratos' shadow comes out from the shadows. I lost my goddamn mind. It was awesome. I've never been more excited.
You haven't freaked out like that since
last
10 minutes later.
Shut up. But, so I just want to bring that up before I go into it. So, for me, actually, my very first video game console, for me, was, actually, the PS1. I actually never had, a different home. It was that.
Well, you're a little bit younger than me, too.
Yes, I'm very much not this baby. So my very first video game console was the PS1, and the first few games or 2 games we got, it was me and my brother, and it was Crash and Spyro, Crash 1 and Spyro 1, and we that's pretty much what made me fall in love with gaming and PlayStation in the beginning. It was just like I couldn't even believe just at the time graphically of how well it's done and just like how. Just colorful and how just how vibrant and how the characters like Spyro and Crash, how they interacted at that time and how like expressive they could be. I absolutely adore Crash and Spyro to this day. And then there were other games that have impacted me at the time. One of my favorite games from that time was Tomba 2, and this is very much a niche game from only people who remember playing it at that time. That was kind of my first. That was the game that introduced me to the action adventure game. You play as a specific character. You get specific.
I think
weapons.
I remember that game.
Yeah, you play as this little jungle boy with pink hair. And like the evil villains are
you connected
evil pigs.
You connected to this
Shut up. Just because I'm fat doesn't mean no. Shut up. But there was a lot of light RPG elements in it, where you had different weapons and you had different costumes and different outfits that only worked that you could use only in specific worlds or places or whatever. And I've never played a game like that. And there was games like Rock and other games like that. There were a bunch of games that I played.
Did you play Medieval at the time? Or?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you played it later?
No, like, actually, my very first experience with Medieval is the PS4 game.
Oh, wow, okay.
That was my very first experience.
Yeah, and I played the original back in the day.
Nope.
That was,
my brother picked up Medieval on PS1 because of PlayStation All Stars. Like,
oh, okay.
Because it was because in PlayStation All Stars, that was you have characters from third party and also first party. Daniel Fortescue was one of the characters, and he wanted to know more about this character that's in All Stars, PlayStation All Stars. So he picked up the games and he loved it. I didn't play it at that time. My very first exposure to that game, I knew it had a cult following and stuff, but I never played it at the time. That's why I got Medieval, and that game is so much fun. For good and bad. The PS4 version of it, but
I'm going to start going for that pretty soon.
It's great.
That's the next game on my list.
It's so good. It's so good. For better or for worse, it plays exactly like it does back at the time. For better or for worse, and they could have updated it a little bit for the current age. But honestly, if you're I want to play Medieval on the PS4 with the graphics, but I want it to be Medieval, that's what you're getting. That's what they wanted. That's what they did, and it's great.
It's all I asked for.
So I had the PS1, and that's what we had. Now, when it came to the next generation, to the PS2 and original Xbox, at that time, I was pretty much in middle school, a teenager, and I went with the original Xbox instead of the PS2 because all of my friends were playing Halo. And so we got an original Xbox, and I actually don't regret doing that at all. Some of my favorite games that I've ever played in all of time are on that system, like Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, Republic Commando, what else? Fable was amazing. And Halo, that was my very first shooter. I never played a shooter on the PS1. Halo was my first shooter. But I played all those games, and then when it came to the PS3, the next generation, at that time I was kind of going all right, I heard.
But you had a PS2, right? Or no?
No, I didn't know.
Okay,
I actually bought my PS2 years after it. I pretty much bought it pre-owned from GameStop for $50-$60. And that's when I got my PS2. That's when the Slim or Super Slim was
so pretty well into the
So when it came to the time of the PS3, this was about I did not get it day one. And at that time, that was when we heard about the Ring of Deaths on the Xbox 360, where you would you would die and that kind of thing. And then I remember it was me, my brother, and my mom. We went to Best Buy, and we wanted to know information about both of them. And I already knew about the Ring of Death. I didn't really know much about the PS3. And at the time, I was only a teenager. I didn't know about the whole, oh my god, this is $600, or this one's only $400, $300, whatever. It really didn't matter to me. What really made me and my brother go, we're going to get a PS3 as the console of this generation was that it was a Blu-ray player, which that was becoming the new norm. It played we got the Fat Boy, so we got the 80 gig backwards compatible PS3, the big fat one. Remember I got that?
I remember. Yeah.
So we did that one, and that was the biggest reason why we did that, because we missed out on the PS2, and there were games.
It gave you the chance to go
exactly.
Back and play
And I remember buying that system from Best Buy, buying a few PS2 games to go to for that system, then going to the Circuit City next door to grab got all the God of War, so God of War 1 and 2, and Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I remember those were the games I gotta get these games.
You can kind of catch up on
it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And honestly, that's when I fell in love with God of War is my favorite PlayStation franchise in all of PlayStation. Out of all of the franchises, out of all the characters, God of War is my favorite. Kratos in God of War is my favorite because of that. That was my first experience, and I've never played a game like that. And when I got the PS3, I just fell in love with it. I thought it was so cool that you could play Blu-rays, and it was backwards compatible to the PS2 and the PS1, so we didn't lose our entire library. And that was important to us, because me and my brother still had our entire PS1 collection that we had years ago. And then we started falling in love with just the PlayStation brand and like everything about it because they kept going like, all right, we're gonna remaster all the Jack and Daxter games. We're gonna remaster all the Sly Cooper games. We're gonna do Shadow of Colossus and Eco. We're just all of the remasters that they did on the PS3 were coming to, or all the remasters of the PS2 games coming to the PS3 was awesome, and that's why like that was.
There was definitely a trend too for the system to get games that were originally on the 360 but kind of like enhanced versions at a later time on that system.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and like that was so awesome because now I'm like, okay, now I'm playing a PS3 version that looks better, plays better, or at least it's like 60 frames per second, 1080p on a PS3. Great, and that's when like I love Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper, fantastic. All of that kind of stuff. That's kind of what made me fall in love with exclusives. Is that like I can't like play like I kind of forgot how deep the PlayStation library of exclusives are. That's kind of made me go, exclusives are important. I know you and me have had this debate multiple times on this show that exclusives are important, and this is kind of where my statement or my reason of that kind of began. Is that this is what made me fall in love with this system.
And I've always said it's a factor, but I mean, for me, I come from more of a what matters
from a business sense.
From a business sense, and what I'm kind of more informed by is the games I enjoy. They tend to be multi-platform.
And again, you and I are different on that. Again, like the games that I fall in love with were the PlayStation exclusives: Infamous, God of War, Kingdom Hearts. Like because Kingdom Hearts was on the PS2. Sly Cooper, so on and so forth. Like I fell in love with those only on PlayStation games. The third party games. Which ones? Like Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed really is probably like the biggest one that I fell in love with. But like that was third party. But like there were other games that were third party, but they really didn't impact me as much as Uncharted or Sly Cooper or Infamous or the God of War collection. Oh my God! When God of War 3 came out in 2009, that was the moment where I'm like, PlayStation. I put my flag in the ground. PlayStation. Done. Because I played God of War 1 and 2, and at the end of 2, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for God of War 3. I cannot wait to play this game. God of War 3 comes out and gets announced, and I get the big collector's edition with Pandora's box, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to play this game. And it opens just graphically. I'm like, how is the system able to do this? Just graphically, when like that opening montage of you just see it's continuing exactly where 2 left off, and you see the Titans climbing the Mount Olympus, and then it just goes straight to where Kratos is, and it zooms into where Kratos is on Gaia, and I'm like, oh my God.
I was someone that I had the exact opposite. I came to the game much later. I actually didn't play God of War 3 because I was on the 360 at the time. Even though I had a PS3 too kind of in the background, which I really didn't touch. But I came to that game much later, years after God of War 3 was out and relevant, really. But it still had that same impression, like, wow, this looks such a gorgeous game. And it's hard to believe that this is like I think I first played it actually back when like the PlayStation 4 was coming out. And I was like, wow, it looks like a next-gen game. It's still, it's...
Yeah, like, I couldn't believe just how gorgeous it looked. And then the gameplay and the story was great. I love it. I absolutely adore it. But, like, that was...
Speaking of going back to the Blue Point topic one more time, that'd be a remake I'd be up for. Not of God of War 3, but of God of War 1 and 2.
Ooh.
Those are overdue for a good remake.
That would be really good. I
could see it as something they could do too, because God of War 2018 did very well.
Yeah.
It's a mainstay franchise. It's a big game. And let's face it, those games could use an update. They haven't really been updated.
You're not wrong.
In a long time. I mean, we had the PS3 re-releases of them, the Vita re-releases of them, but those were just ports basically. If we had a full-on new textures, new assets, kind of. Remake.
I agree with you. Like I agree. Like I would love to see that, but I don't think it would be that, only because that's something that you would want, and I would love that too. But I don't think it's going to be that, because I feel like they've been in development of this game longer, not longer than God of War has been in development, but like very much God of War 2018 was very much a risk. That was a big risk.
Yeah,
that game could have flopped hard, because they were taking so many different creative experiments with it.
They changed a lot from
like it has a stamina system, and the camera is like closer to Kratos, and it follows him instead of kind of the panning that it had in 2 and even in 3.
And I think that, since then some people have kind of criticized elements of it, especially the
purists.
The purists kind of criticized those elements of it, but I think what you have to realize about it is that you had, how many games, what was it, like 5 or 6 games that that were done in the traditional God of War style, and I think part of the reason why they kind of did take a risk with it too was because, that series kind of had some fatigue to it.
Well, yeah, Ascension is the kind of the big one that proves the fatigue of it.
Yeah, Ascension plays about as pure as a God of War game can play, and it didn't do all that well.
No, it did not.
So I think they had to kind of shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, but it was still a very big risk, and you either succeed massively like it did last year, or you could have failed. So, but like, I absolutely loved the PS3, and then during that time,
what about your decision making, like when it came to the PS4? Was it just kind of a no-brainer?
So let me get there. So I also during that time I got the PSP, and I actually I didn't get a smartphone until years later. I didn't get a smartphone when it was like the new big thing. Remember, like the very first Apple iPhone or whatever. I didn't get those. And actually, even like the iPod, the original iPod and stuff, like I absolutely adored the PSP. I don't even know how many PSPs I've gone through, because I love that system. And the way you could just move music to it in videos and how it worked, it just became an all-around media system that you could take on the go.
The thing that still amazes me about the PSP is it actually had physical discs.
I know, right?
That's kind of weird to think about, like in a portable system.
I know.
Like every other system has had,
some kind of
cartridge version, and that's eventually what Sony went to as well with the Vita. But it's just kind of weird to think like those little discs.
No, and I love the PSP. I love that system. Oh my god! And when they went to the Vita, I bought like the very first system I bought day one, straight up and down day one was the Vita. That was the system. I'm like, I'm buying this day one. Oh my god, I couldn't wait for that system. And I know I'm in a small boat with like the Vita came out, and I do agree it failed because instead of using just normal micro SD cards that were like only at that time maybe like $50 for a 32.
I think you can agree with me on that. It was price.
Oh my god! So I couldn't believe in order for me to get a 32 I had to spend like almost $100, like $80.
Plus, just on top of that, the system itself being so expensive.
With the 4G and the Wi-Fi, like the 4G, the 3G or 4G version, that was such a waste of.
You're talking, just for that system, you're talking a $350 plus investment just to get started with one game. Whereas the competition, the 3DS launched overpriced, but they quickly within the first 6 months corrected course.
Yeah.
And you had a system that was
it was just dominating the market, and it almost kind of monopolized it. Like Nintendo owns handheld,
and the funny thing is, like, the 3DS is still in a way kind of a failure in some sorts compared to the monumental success of the DS.
Switch?
Of the DS.
Oh, the DS. Okay.
Yeah. I think the DS is still their highest selling platform.
Oh yeah.
When you count handhelds with overall consoles,
But and again, I love my Vita. I still have my white Assassin's Creed Liberation Vita. Still works. I still use it every so often. It's very rare, but I love that thing. I love the Vita. It's such a great system, and they kind of they kind of did a few missteps, and I would love to see Sony get back into the handheld market, but Sony has said that's not where we're.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, it's not. They've even said so themselves. They want to focus on what they're good at and what they're And really, their home consoles is truly what they're good at. The PS1, PS2, 3, and 4. They tried to get into a market that they think that they could step into, and they did well with the PSP. Nintendo still beat them, but they were able to kind of keep up with that. But onto the PS4. So I remember, and this is kind of why the Brotherhood exists, why I recruited you, and brought Guru Blaze and everyone. So what happened is that I was in New York in February 2013, and I already knew about the announcement of that the event was happening in New York. So I went to the theater where it was going to be at. I wasn't able to go in because I didn't have a ticket or whatever, but I was able to be around the crowd that was there, the video game media and fans and everyone who was excited for this. And I talked to them and got to hang out with them, and being in that atmosphere got me excited also. And then I remember going back to my friend's apartment that I was staying at the time, and watching the live stream and them and showing off the DualShock 4 and announcing the games, and I was so excited. I'm like, I'm here. I am here for all of this. And mind you, like, I like Xbox, but like ever since the PS3 and then the mishaps with the 360, with the Red Ring of Death, and like just other exclusives that Xbox really wasn't coming out with. It just, there were very few and far between near the end of that life cycle. The Kinect was a mess. Like, the original Kinect was a mess. And, like, nothing from Xbox really excited me the way PlayStation already
And I think you
did.
saw, especially towards the end of the 360's life cycle, they really made this kind of switch towards just a very small stable of games that they focused on. You know, it was the Halos, the Gears, and the Forza. That was really what it became. They moved away from Fable. They moved away from other more interesting games that they had before. Mass Effect was no longer an exclusive.
Yep.
They kind of moved away from these games that were more interesting towards just a firm stable of, like, you know, 3 or 4 major
This
games.
is what sells. People are going to buy it. That's it.
Yeah.
And where PlayStation was taking massive risks with all the different games that were coming out on
A lot
on
of-
the PS3.
you know,
on
and-
the PS3.
Yeah, it was a lot more hit or miss, but at the same time, there was a diversity to them where you saw that, you know, these are kind of unique experiences that you really didn't get anywhere else.
Yeah. So I was there, and I was so excited for it, and that's kind of what kind of made me go, like, I'm ready to buy the system. And then I waited until about, it was a month before E3, or it was a few weeks before E3, when Xbox announced their system, and that was the horrendous announcement from, I believe it was Don Matrick, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yep. Where it was like, that was where they talked about the DRM policy. That's when they talked about TV, sports, games, sports.
That was such
TV.
an identity crisis for Xbox people like myself. I was like, I was
God.
firmly on the
And I'm like-
360. Yeah.
And me as a PlayStation fanboy, I'm like, oh.
Dodged a bullet.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like...
And then what's just put the nail into the coffin, shot in the head, was when PlayStation E3, after Xbox went first, PlayStation went last on that E3, just annihilated them. Just took a bat and kicked the crap out of them. Went the famous video of it's Shuhei Yoshida and I can't remember I think
know
he
what
was
you're talking about,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
The
Jack Trent.
how to trade games
Yeah,
or whatever.
this is how
yeah.
you trade games. Here you go. And it's like, that was perfect. And they were like, just Jack Trenton, who was the head of PlayStation US, just came out and was like, this is what we're doing. Boom, 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 boom. And like, me as a PlayStation fan, I'm like, yes, this is what I want.
It was really just a perfect marketing, and really, I mean, it even kind of helped cushion the blow of, I mean, because it wasn't all good news on PlayStation side. Like I said, they started mandating Plus for online multiplayer, but it sort of was like, at that point, it's like, who cares? You know, as long, you know, at least we have a normal system here. We don't have the nightmare that is the Xbox One. So I think it was kind of perfect how it worked out for Sony.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's you know, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. You know,
Exactly.
That's kind of how
and
it
that's
was.
what they did. And that's what they did. And like me, I was like, I'm ready to buy this PS4, and I bought it day one. Black Flag was like kind of my launch title. I got Black Flag, Killzone, Shadowfall. Yeah, like that was like, mind you, and like there were problems. Like PlayStation had a little bit of a hiccup. Xbox in the beginning were coming out with exclusives left and right. Where PlayStation was like, where are they? Where, like,
Yeah, really.
It took a while for PlayStation.
The first
to
one
get-
that was even remotely entertaining for me was Infamous.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the game that made me go, "Oh, I'm buying this system." That was the, like, and they announced Kingdom Hearts 3, where I'm like, "Oh my god!" Final Fantasy 7 remake. That was at the announcement of the console too. Like, that game existed. Like, there were a lot of things where I'm like, "Oh my god, you're cool." So like, for me, PlayStation, like the reason why the Brotherhood exists, this channel, what we are here doing now today, is because of PlayStation. Honestly, like, I don't think without PlayStation and like the influence that it had on me as a kid, how it had an influence on me in the video game, like I wanted to know more about PlayStation, I wanted to know more about the video game media, and I wanted to know news, and I wanted to be right on top of the game and that kind of thing. It was like I love this brand, I love this system. Like, yes, you are correct. The PS5 is a no-brainer for me. I am straight up and down
it would
getting
be,
a PS5.
It would be like, it would have to take some kind of
They
extraordinary...
would have to they would have to do what Xbox did last year.
It'd be an extraordinary sequence of circumstances that would have to take place for this to become like
then I would have to go, all right, I may be getting an Xbox, but like,
yeah, I just don't envision that.
No, I can't either, because they know of what happened. They experienced it. Again, then like I've always been very worried that PlayStation can get full of themselves, and it has happened before. And like PlayStation now is actually a good service now. You can download your games, $10 per month. You can buy it per year if you want, but it's $10 per month, just like Game Pass. Like, Xbox is coming back. I'm looking for. I think it's this coming generation, next year, 2020, when we're gonna get the reveals of whatever the Scarlet is and the PS5. I think it's gonna be more about the features, what these systems offer for features.
A new generation sort of, I mean, it can kind of reset things in a way. So I mean, it's not necessarily just a guarantee that all PlayStations are going to continue to be the runaway bestseller. You know, yeah, no, I mean, it's this next year is going to be fascinating to watch, to see how the competition shapes up around each other.
Yeah. So last but not least, let's go ahead and like close this up. So kind of, what would you say? One, what is kind of like the PlayStation game that impacted you the most? And two, what do you think PlayStation should do going forward?
Do we, by PlayStation game, do we mean PlayStation exclusive or game that I first played on PlayStation?
Exclusive.
Exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive. Or if you can't think of exclusive, if you want to go with a game that you played on PlayStation that impacted you can go do that too.
Well, I'd say probably still my favorite game and favorite game series, and I probably never would have been introduced to it had I stuck with Nintendo, as I originally had done, was the Silent Hill series. I didn't start with Silent Hill 1, which was, even though I had a PlayStation 1, I wasn't aware of it at the time. Like I said, you keep in mind, this was a world before the internet, really.
Yeah.
But Silent Hill 2 was my first introduction in that series. I remember picking that up in a Blockbuster. And it looked interesting. That was that's how you were exposed to games back then. You just saw, oh, hey, this is interesting. Let me pick this up. Let me try this. And blew me away, completely changed my opinion of what games could be. And I mean, I think that game had such a huge impact on me, and then of course that led to me becoming someone that, like, even just basic stuff, like that was the first game I really pre-ordered. Like when they announced like there was gonna be a Silent Hill 3, I'm like, I gotta get that, I gotta pre-order. Before that, I never pre-ordered games. I was just like, oh, I'll just go in the store and I'll just pick a game off the shelf here, whatever. That was like, I'm actually looking forward to games. This is more than just a, it's kind of a side thing for me. This is a hobby that is part of my life. So and PlayStation's, even though it ultimately was no longer, it was exclusive at the time when I first encountered it, eventually was ported over to Xbox and PC. But without the PlayStation, if I was still on Nintendo, I probably would never have been exposed to it. So without PlayStation, I never would have been exposed. And not just that, Silent Hill is just one prominent example, but other series, even like Deus Ex. PlayStation 2, I wouldn't have been exposed to these things, without PlayStation being in my life, essentially. So in terms of where to go from here, I guess it's a matter of kind of keeping up, the good work they did from the PlayStation 4. I think they have to come out with the PlayStation 5 at a good competitive price.
I agree.
I always guess it's the first thing you consider with a system is a good competitive price. Obviously, it has to be, it can't be a slacker. It has to have some power behind it. It doesn't have to be the most powerful of the two, but it has to be powerful. I think there is more of a push now than ever for some form of backwards compatibility. So they have to address it somehow, whether that is through a more expanded, better PlayStation Now service or with full-on backwards compatibility. If they came out with that would be a bombshell. That would be like a megaton bombshell.
I think it's going to be like that for PS4. But I don't know for the rest.
So I mean, they already confirmed that it'll be backwards compatible for the PS4. But if there's anything beyond that, that would be like, whoa. That would be like a mic drop moment. Like, if they come out and said, By the
throw
way,
a PS1 disc in there, throw a PS2 disc in there, throw a PS3 disc in there.
and they could even do that in like a kind of fun, clever way if they wanted to. Like that would be a mic drop moment.
I know.
That would create a huge amount of hype.
I agree.
So that would be huge.
Because that's like the one thing I keep hearing just from talking to just anyone is like, oh,
They
man,
sort
I
of
would love
fixed-
to have. I would love to have the PS5 if I could just throw in my PS2 disc in there.
They sort of fixed every other issue I can point to. We can even change our names now. So it's like they fixed everything. That's kind of the last hill to conquer here.
Yeah.
So if I would recommend that they do something to address that. Whether even if it's not possible to make a system feasibly backwards compatible, then expand on the program that they had. I mean, at the outset of the PlayStation 4, they were pretty aggressive about getting PS2 games digitally supported on the system. Like maybe be a little bit more aggressive on that.
Maybe.
And this is also advice I would give to Nintendo because they really need to up their virtual console game. But I mean, I guess the PlayStation, just like Nintendo, it has this big stable of past games that they can draw from. Use that.
Yeah.
That'd be my biggest piece of advice is use that. That gets people excited because it's not just for people like us that grew up with it. It's a value proposition for everybody. It's like, hey, look at all these games you can play on this system and only on this system.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that on Xbox too, but nobody has the library like PlayStation. There's only really Nintendo does that can rival it. So I guess that would be my number one piece of advice is this is the last thing. Sort out the backwards compatibility somehow. Address it somehow. Don't ignore it.
For me, that the game that like for me, I will always remember Crash and Spyro. Those were like my very first PlayStation game. But like really, the game made me go, oh, I love stories, and this is the kind of genre of games that I fall in love with. It's God of War. God of War was very much the style of game, just the story and the tragic, like the tragic hero or the anti-hero in this case. But it was so well done. It kind of took the whole Greek mythology and twisted it on its head, and I loved it. I love God of War. I love the hack and slash, and then what they did with God of War 2018 is just amazing. God of War is very impactful to me from the PlayStation library and the PlayStation brand. Moving forward, what PlayStation needs to do, I think they need to continue going with the exclusives that they're going with. It goes Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, so on and so forth. Like, exclusives is what you're the best at outside of Nintendo, but like their exclusives are bar none the best, especially when it comes to their stories, and that to me is most important. But I also do agree, when you come up with a PS4 or PS5, you cannot go higher than $400. That has to be the bare max. Because it launched at $400. Yeah. So it cannot go higher than $400, which they have already said that's kind of what.
It would be nice to see, I guess, some more real good standout exclusives that are, I guess, maybe take a few more risks. Is kind of to springboard off your point. Take a few more risks because I think we can both agree the PlayStation kind of exclusive model has kind of become a little bit homogenized. I mean, Uncharted sort of feels like Last of Us, which sort of
there's some kind of odd, weird version of Last of Us.
Yeah, and even God of War has elements of that now too, which is weird to think of. I guess I wish they would be more. Horizon kind of has that too. I mean, I wish that things would be a little bit more distinct. I mean, there is kind of the common accusation kind of thrown at the PlayStation 4 is it's sort of the Bloodborne machine, because that's the one game like, well, okay, well I have to have a PlayStation for that. That's what some people justify it, but it's like, well, can we expand that out and try other different things?
I mean, mind you, there are tons of them. But
there's a lot of but
I get your point.
Would it be cool to have like something like, I mean, just maybe revive some genres that we don't really see much anymore? Like, when's the last time we've had a really good like mecha game, like maybe a new Armored Core type of game?
I get you.
Doesn't have to be Armored Core, but maybe something like that.
I get you.
I mean, just take a few more risks, I guess. Kind of like what they did with the PS3 days, where there was a lot of kind of experimental, different kind of exclusive.
Because
games.
they had to in order to compete. They're winning the market, and I get it, I understand. And they still took risks with God of War and Marvel Spider-Man. That was a very different game. Even though like Insomniac is now owned by PlayStation. PlayStation now owns Insomniac. They are no longer kind of third party. They're now owned by Sony. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot from them. As I said, I would love to see Sunset Overdrive from them because Insomniac owns the property rights to that, not Microsoft. But anyway, so double down on your exclusives. The price of the PS5 has to be $400, no more. Backwards compatible, they've already said to the PS4, but if you can do PS2, PS3, PS2, PS1, oh my god, that would be so good.
Yeah.
But really, I think they kind of need to. They are the gaming masters. They you said so yourself. Nintendo is the only other brand that can beat PlayStation when it comes to their exclusive library, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
But the one thing that Nintendo doesn't have, and Nintendo has been trying to build back, is their third-party library.
Yeah.
PlayStation is the only one out of the three, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, where it has both. A massive backlog of exclusives, and a fantastic third-party relations and library to that. You still get Call of Duty that competes with Xbox, but yet you still get your exclusives added onto the library like Nintendo has.
That's always been a weak point for Nintendo, because I think for them they like to have this. They've always been about control to some degree. They like to be.
That's why PlayStation exists.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go on.
No, go ahead. I wrapped up my point. But yeah, that's.
But like, I think that's what PlayStation, like, your games is. You are the master of that. That is what you're good at. Yes, it's awesome that, I think the way of the Game Pass that Microsoft is doing, where Microsoft knows, like, well, our services is what we can use to our advantage. That's good, because the Game Pass is like Netflix-style gaming, and now PlayStation Now is becoming that, where you still stream games, because if it's PS3, but now PS4 games, you download to the system and you play it through the PlayStation Now service for $10 a month, which is great. I'm so glad that they dropped that price down, because that was the one big problem that I had with it. It was that you're streaming it still, so you had problems like the Stadia, and that it's what, $30 per month? No, I'm not spending that kind of money. $10 per month? Oh yeah, I'll do that. That's as much as a Netflix subscription. That's as much as that's a little bit more than Disney Plus. That's just as much as Hulu, so on and so forth. Like, worth it. So, but I think really it's going to. I think what we're going to be seeing coming in February next year, 2020, what features are different between the Xbox Scarlet, or whatever they name it, and the PS5. I think those features and that pricing, but I think both of them are hunting for that $400 pricing. I think they're both going to be the same. Then, if that's the case, it's going to be, what are your games, and what are your features? How can you make it convenient for me? And I think that's going to be kind of what's going to be deciding of who kind of wins the console war, or kind of gets that first head start.
And this is really, this is kind of PlayStation's generation to lose in a way, because they're starting with a tremendous head start. PlayStation 4, over 100 million units sold. It's surpassed PlayStation 1 in sales.
Yep.
It won't beat the PS2, but
it's coming close though. It's coming really close.
No, it won't. But it won't be close. But it'll be. It's done very well. It's done very well for itself. So it's kind of its generation to lose. It's got a lot of momentum behind it coming from this generation. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah. But guys, we would love to hear how PlayStation affected you. 25 years of PlayStation, that's awesome. In many years to come, I'm excited to see what the PS5 has in store for us. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. YouTube.com/BrotherhoodOfGeeks. Go ahead and press the subscribe button, and then press the bell icon. That way, whenever we put up a video, we put a video. Like, comment. We always want to hear what you guys are saying. Then, if you haven't already, you can also follow us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/TheBrotherhoodOfGeeks. You can also follow us on Twitter at Dualshock'd BOG. That's the name of our PlayStation podcast, Dualshock'd BOG. And then you can also follow us on Twitch when we stream at twitch.tv/BrotherhoodOfGeeks. I think I covered everything. Is there anything I'm missing?
No, I think you got it.
Great.
So
great 25 years of PlayStation, huh?
Yep, and we will reconvene. I can't wait for the
Game Awards.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to We'll see Healy and his friend.
And then after that, we're going to be actually having to figure out our game of the year for the Brotherhood of Geeks also. So that'll be a fun debate.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
So great. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Anything else? No?
No, that's it.
All right, great. I'm Brett J. Rasmussen.
I'm Spectre.
And as always, live to play, play together. We'll see you guys next time.